you for this most heartwarming welcome. Now, this is the moment you've been waiting for. The winner are, again, Gigi!
Welcome back to The Better Half. I'm Bradley J. Halverson, and here with me, thank heaven for her, it's Carly Corio. Hi, Carly.
Hi, Bradley. Thank heaven for me is right.
How are you, Carly? How's life?
I'm doing fine. I'm just doing fine. I would say that's a good word for it lately. The winter is coming. The weather is turning.
Yes,
I'm very much a summer person, but you love anything other than summer. So things are really happening for you.
This year it was a very long summer. It really was. Like, it's now finally a day of like a high of 60, and I do feel like I have a pep in my step. Like I'm skipping around the house in comfy clothes. So
thanks for asking, Brad. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Okay.
As you know, Carly, this is the first episode we're doing since my sweet, sweet cat has passed away. And I only want to bring it up because I want to dedicate this episode to her, if that's okay with you.
Totally fine with me. I think there's nothing more Catssidy would want than a podcast episode dedicated to her.
I know. I really think she would have liked Gigi. I really do. Like, we've watched many a movie, and there was a cat in this movie.
Every time it came on screen, you said, cat, Catsie.
It's tough. So this one's for you, Catsie.
This one's for you, Catsie. We miss you and all three of your paws. I know she's watching us from above.
From the meadow.
Cat heaven. Oh, yeah, the meadow. She's in a meadow. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are here to talk about Gigi from 1958. It won Best Motion Picture at the 31st Academy Awards, which took place on April 6, 1959. And Carly, I would love to hear a little bite-sized synopsis of Gigi.
Okay, I do have that ready. So Gigi is set in 1900 Paris and follows Gigi, a spirited young girl being trained by her family to become a wealthy man's courtesan, but she falls for her childhood friend, the eligible bachelor, Gaston.
Courtesan could be the new tryst.
Ooh, courtesan.
Small disclaimer too, this movie takes place in France, if you have not caught on. And I may not be the most diligent at pronouncing French names.
Any examples, Brad?
Famously, Carly and I were talking about the new season of The Morning Show with an actress that I really loved, which is Marion Cotillard, which I unfortunately said Marion Cotillard. So
Brad was saying, I don't know if you know this actress, and that's usually how Brad presents any actress, thinking I know nothing about anyone. But he's like, I don't know if you know who this person is, but I love her. Her name's Marion Cotillard, and I just couldn't. For loving her so much, you would think Brad would have heard her name said ever. I think you watched a YouTube video and you're like, apparently it is Cotillard.
Marion, if you're listening, so sorry. Enjoyed your performance in Inception. And you're doing great on The Morning Show. You're killing it. So diving into the movie. So we are being transported here to the year 1900, Paris, France.
The turn of the 20th century.
Mm-hmm. I want to be able to describe for you just like the aesthetics of this movie. And I don't know how historically accurate this movie is to the time period, but everything is so like decadent. Everything is so extravagantly decorated. The rooms are so garish and just like covered wallpaper that singe your eyeballs. Women are wearing like the brightest colors with the frou-freest like headdresses you've ever seen. All the men are in suits.
There's fabric and linen on everything.
Everything.
At one point, they're taking a bath, and the bath is covered in a sheet under the water. Like, they just put linens on everything. I can't imagine the dust that all the linen collects. Yeah. I don't get it, but apparently that's how they like it.
And, you know, we're mostly following the lives of rich people, but they're all just at parties, at restaurants, and they're constantly drinking champagne. Like, they're constantly wine or champagne or something.
Brad, do you like champagne?
I like it enough. I'm never sort of naturally sitting at home being like, I desire or I crave a champagne.
Yeah.
Also, I'm a little ashamed to admit I've never opened a champagne bottle and I'm afraid to. So.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
So I think it's fine. I've certainly taken part in a lot of like drinking a toast to something or whatever. I just always wish there was more champagne in the little glass bottle I was handed as we do the toast, but it's always just like a little like sippy sip. And then I feel like it's rare that we're like, I'm at a party where like champagne is like the only drink option, you know? So
unless it's mixed with orange juice.
Yes.
You do like a mimosa. I know that about you.
I do. Yep.
I do love champagne. Like, when I go out, I will order like a Prosecco. I just love a bubbly, you know?
I think you would have fit in well enough to this world of Gigi. I think you would have done well in 1900 France.
Totally. I just would not have liked all the fabric on the walls. That would have really creeped me out, and I would have just felt like I was surrounded by dust, right?
Would you also have liked like creepy old men sort of ogling at you in the park while you're just with your gal pals?
No, especially ogling at me and young children. No.
So we have to start here right away because the movie starts here right away, but we get introduced to this old wrinkly pervert whose name is like Honoré Lachal.
Yeah, that was good.
And he's like French Deadpool because he like breaks the fourth wall and he like talks to the camera. I think, Carly, I said to you verbatim, like, Carly, he's talking to us.
Yeah, because I was looking down taking notes and you're like, yes. Carly, he's talking to us.
This old man, he's in formal attire. He's walking outside. It's a bright, sunny day. And we know this because like all the women carry umbrellas. He's walking like in this park and there's just like a ton of people outside. And he's like informing us of the main plot of the movie, so to speak. Like he's talking about how like men such as his nephew, Gaston, don't really like seek to marry these days. They just want to have fun and party and have mistresses. And that the women in France just kind of serve as courtesans, mistresses of these wealthy guys. And so he goes from that to like sitting on this like little park bench, and then he busts into song. I think we forgot to mention this is a musical.
We did forget that. And it's honestly not as musical as I thought it would be, but it definitely does break into song.
Yeah. The only movie we can compare it to is Oliver. And I think Oliver had a much more emphasis on the musical adaptation, like big production numbers, big choreography. This was more of what I would say is like the Glee style, where like they're in a conversation and then they just slide into song all of a sudden mid-conversation. So he starts singing a song and it's like, thank heaven for little girls.
Little girls. So helpless and appealing, the lyric said. And they get bigger every day.
Yeah. And literally they're like little girls running around with their moms or whatever.
Having fun.
But yeah, this was a pretty wild way to start a Best Picture winner. Just this creepy old man, literally the only man in this park, literally just ogling all these girls. And then he's like, through song, of course, he's like getting us introduced to like Gigi because she's also in the park running around with her gal pals.
Yeah, and I feel like all the other girls were like young, right? Like, I feel like all the other girls were running around. They were like, you know, between 8 and 10, 12. And then they just kind of work in Gigi, who at the time of filming, she was in her 20s. So it was kind of interesting to blend her in there. But I get it, you know. Yeah,
I guess we don't really know what Gigi's age is, but I'm hoping it was early 20s. So even though this creepy old fuck is like singing about little girls, I just want to be clear, Gigi herself, not a little girl, grown woman. So
yes.
And she's all dressed up like Madeline from the book, you know, with the big yellow.
Who did you say at first? You were like,
Amelia Bedelia.
Oh, yeah. You were like, oh my, looking like a lot like Amelia Bedelia. I was like, and Madeline. And you're like, oh yeah, that's what I was
wait, that's it. Yep. So thankfully, Gigi takes the camera with her away from the old man and we follow her instead. She heads on home to her grandmother's place, Madame Alvarez. Grandmama, she said. Setting wise, we only see this one room in their house, really. And it's this like garishly red room. Like the walls are painted red. It is the red room. And so Gigi's coming in and her grandmama are having a conversation. And you might be wondering like, oh, like where's like Gigi's like parents? Well, her mom is a little bit of a character in this movie because her mother is apparently a singer. And we only know this because we start to hear some... And grandmama over here walks over to a door that's open and just shuts it closed.
And they mentioned something like, oh, your mom's practicing for later today, blah, blah, blah. And you hear the, and the grandmama very abruptly goes and slams shut the door. And then they just continue on talking.
I'll set this up now. This is a running gag throughout the whole movie. We never see the mom. I imagine like the door that she closes is a door to a basement. I just imagine this mom is like trapped in a basement and never allowed to go out.
There was no point to this other than maybe they wanted to build in some comedy, but there was no point to having this mom at all.
No, not at all. You never see Gigi sort of reflecting on her relationship to her mom or nothing like that. No. And so Grandmama is like, it's Tuesday. You're late for your session with Aunt Alicia. And Gigi's like, oh, yeah, I guess I should go to that. Oh, right. Okay. And so she heads off. And we do cut away from Gigi to return back to our old pervert here because we got to get introduced to our leading man here. And that's his nephew, Gaston. Gaston is probably the hottest man I've seen in a Best Picture winner.
I did write Brad obsessed with Gaston.
I was the smitten kitten. And even though he's very straight presenting in this movie, nobody's going to be able to convince me that he's straight. Like, he's very gay. And this movie uses the word gay, like,
often.
30 million times.
Yes.
Like, his uncle's literally like, go out, go party, be gay. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Can I tell a story about gay?
You may.
I wanted to get your permission first for obvious reasons. So it's a pretty popular story in my family that when I was in first grade, my teacher was like a family friend and we were reading some book and they talked about gay and she asked the class, she was like, hey, does anybody know what gay means? And I raised my hand as, you know, a young scholar and my mom, who was friends with my teacher, said that Mrs. Bulak was like, I chose Carly because I felt that was a safe person to choose, that she like would know the right way to go with this. And of course I raise my hand and I say, yes, of course I know what gay means. It's when a boy likes a boy or a girl likes a girl. And apparently she couldn't believe it. And then she called on someone else who then was like, it means happy. And she was like, yes, thank you very much. So my teacher called my mom later that day and was like, I have to tell you what Carly did today. And I'm sorry, I'm bringing representation to the classroom.
I love that. They're like, Carly, what does gay mean? And you're like, it means mama slay, boots house down.
Exactly. I have been an ally as long as I can remember.
And we salute you for your service.
I know.
We really do.
Thank you. Thank you. I wanted to bring that up today because I knew we would talk about the usage of gay in this movie. And
yeah, the word gay, huge in this movie, basically a character all on its own. So
yeah, meaning happy.
Meaning happy, yeah, not boy like boy. And so we get introduced to Gaston. He is, I have to imagine, over 6 foot. Very nice cheekbones, jawline. Like, ladies, he's the whole package. Okay. And what's even hotter about him is he's kind of a curmudgeon. He complains this entire movie, and I love that. So they take this like carriage ride through Paris, and we enter a new song here, and where we learn more about Gaston's character and his singing ability, which you would think like, Brad, don't you find that hot? And I don't care that he can sing. And even though like they live in the most beautiful place on earth, they're rich as fuck, you know, they're surrounded by all this art and beauty and grace. Gaston's song is about everything boring him to death. It's a bore, he says, as they take this carriage ride under the Eiffel Tower through the streets of Paris. Gaston, he's clearly not satisfied with all the privilege and luxury he's living in. So Gaston, also known as a little bit of a party boy, a little bit of a fuck boy. He's always got, you know, a pretty mistress, a pretty lady. He's currently has a mistress named Leanne, played by Eva Gabor, who famously we always see. We'll always see in crossword clues. So
when we saw her name come up in the opening credits, we were like, oh!
It's her.
I think I was like, wait, I know that name. And you're like, she's in literally every crossword puzzle. So yes, she is of New York Times crossword fame, Eva Gabor.
Yep. She's here and she's a courtesan of Gaston. So, but we do also learn from Gaston that, again, he's pretty bored with life, but one of the places where he feels the most comfortable or the most himself is he likes to spend time over at Madame Alvarez's and hanging out with Gigi.
Grandmama. He calls her what, Mamita?
Yes, yeah. Yes. Yeah, what's that about?
I don't know.
Where's his actual mom? Is she also in the basement of Moms?
Yeah, she's somewhere else singing something else.
You're right. So Gaston calls Grandmama Mamita, and he likes to spend time there. And the relationship with him and Gigi, we are to understand, is pretty platonic. It's pretty jovial. They have witchy banter back and forth, and they seem to be good friends. So then we do need to go back to Gigi. She is now visiting her aunt Alicia, and we first see her, stepping out onto her balcony. She's wearing one of those like Pirates of the Caribbean corsets. Those
You
things
did
like.
say that.
I know corsets have been around for a while, but that is what I think of as Keira Knightley like passing out because her corset was tied too tight. Aunt Alicia here, her character, she is kind of like queen bitch. Like,
Yeah.
she lives in extravagance. You cannot tell her off. She is a very like strict, disciplined woman, and she clearly has experience in the courtesan life.
Very privileged.
Yes, oh for sure. Yeah, lives alone but has this huge ass apartment.
Goals, honestly. Yeah.
Kind of some like queen icon behavior from Aunt Alicia here.
Yeah.
The only thing that's kind of weird is like she's training Gigi to be a mistress. That's their whole shtick. Like they meet up, I'm assuming weekly.
And do etiquette classes.
Yes.
And I told Brad it was very Princess Diaries when she has to go get all those princess classes from her grandmother.
Yeah.
So that is very much what it feels like. It's like, here's how you sit and here's this. And then at one point they train on like what jewels are what.
It's basically like, here's all the things that wealthy men care about, or that we think wealthy men care about. Literally from like, you need to learn how to hold a cigar, smell it, and then you have to like hold it up to your ear, which I don't understand.
I don't
but
get that.
when Gigi does this, she literally crumbles the cigar in her fist, which I didn't know cigars could just do that.
No, that's not easy to do. She had to have done that on purpose.
But you're right. Like we see her and Aunt Alicia like at the dinner table. They have to eat like some bird and they're like learning how to like cut the bird and eat the bird correctly. And Gigi is like not having a great time. She's like crunching into this bird.
It's like crunching and she's like, isn't Alicia like, oh, don't mind the bones? Like, it's like, what? I think it was a duck or something.
Yeah.
And it was
crazy.
yucky to even hear.
So, I mean, it's pretty wild because like, you just have to imagine like men are the ones who created all these societal traditions, these norms, these things that the ways in which women have to perform around them. So it's just kind of like, it's kind of a bummer to see, I think, in modern times. But, you get a ray of hope because Gigi really like doesn't seem interested at all. Like, she's learning about all these different types of jewelry from Aunt Alicia, and then she kind of steps away, and Gigi, of course, bursts out into song as one does, and kind of like basically rejecting this idea of traditionalism, like having to just follow the rules. She's not a girl's girl, and she's not very interested in being some wealthy man's mistress. And it doesn't also mean she's super interested in being in love or being married either. Like she just likes her life as it is, and why should she have to perform this way, and for who,
Yeah.
But both Aunt Alicia and her grandmama, both seem to think that this is important for her to learn because, they strive for her to, I guess, be attached to some wealthy man.
And they like throughout the movie are like plotting this. Like they very much have a goal. They very much want her to marry a wealthy man and be successful in that way. And this song that Gigi sings, it's called The Parisians. It's basically like, I don't understand Parisians and why is life like this? And it was a good kind of way to see, oh, Gigi doesn't like this, but she kind of goes along with it because that's what you do.
Right. And if you're listening to this and thinking like, oh, well then the aunt and the grandmother are the villains of this movie, or they're nefarious, they're really not presented as such. Like,
no,
we can kind of look at this and be like, huh? But like, this movie treats all of this very normal, and again, I don't know how historically accurate this movie is. There are really no villains to this movie, really. And it's just, this seems to be the way of life, and Gigi has to get on board, but we do see her resisting this. And so we cut away from her courtesan lessons to actually see her with Gaston. He stops by the Red Room again. They're all hanging out, and him and Gigi head off to the ice skating rink.
Yeah.
Because this is where Eva Gabor, she is an ice skater apparently. And so Gaston is bringing Gigi over to hang out with his mistress, really, Leanne. She's ice skating with this, like, her instructor, her male ice skating instructor. And so Gigi, like, she's like, oh, like, yeah, she's fine. Who cares? And she literally, like, runs off.
Yeah, I wrote Gigi just leaves. Like,
straight up leaves.
Yeah.
And that's fine because Gaston is, like, preoccupied anyways. And so
Yeah.
Leanne like comes over and she's being a dutiful girlfriend here, saying all the right things. Gaston does like have an interaction with this male instructor guy, but Gaston plans to take Leanne to this like I think a very like famous real life restaurant.
Well, before they leave, somebody brings to their table at the ice rink a bottle of champagne.
Oh, is this the first?
Yeah,
champagne?
this is our first champagne, and I can't stress enough. So they bring the champagne, and the waiter's opening it, and you see them pop open, and you can tell it's like an added sound because it's maybe a second off, but it just sounds so fake. They open the bottle of champagne, and they go. Sounds like a bubble popping. It was the fakest cork. I don't know why they didn't just use the original sound. Anything would have sounded better than this soft bubble popping sound they used. So Brad and I were immediately like gagged by this, and it continued throughout the whole movie. They opened so many bottles of champagne, and sometimes they use the sound, sometimes they don't. Like, bizarre. So this was the first intro to the champagne bottle. But then yes, they go to probably Brad and I's favorite place in the whole movie, Maxime's, which is like this bar they go to.
This restaurant is wild. Yeah. And it's crowded for one thing. And what we see is like a couple will walk in, you know, a man and his mistress. The whole restaurant stops talking. They just stare for a moment. And then they're sort of like, again, I think fourth wall breaking, bursting out into song as each couple comes in. And they are like reading each couple to filth.
It was all in like this like da 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 and da 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 da. It was like all very coordinated, and Brad said like the whole bar is like reading people as they walk in, like RuPaul. They just ripped everyone to shreds, and like and the whole bar knew every lyric together.
There's that wretched man, Lewis, with his latest horrible amour. Isn't she a mess? Isn't she a sight?
Isn't she a mess? Isn't she a sight? Let's invite them out tomorrow night. Like, the whole bar did this every time anybody walked in. It was so funny.
Isn't it a shame? Isn't it a crime? Seeing him so happy all the time?
Seeing him so happy all the time. And then they would all just go back to talking and drinking. So funny.
Yeah. So Gaston and Leanne show up, and again, like, in my mind, like, Leanne's doing nothing wrong. She is having a fantastic night, okay? She gets to be at this bomb-ass restaurant, and she's, like, off dancing with whoever because she's just there having a good time. But yet, here's Mr. Eeyore, Gaston, my man, who just, like, won't go up dancing, and he's, like, so bothered by how happy she is. He's like, why is she so gay? Why is she being so gay right now? He's like, there must be something going on for her to be so gay like this. And so we learn pretty quickly that he thinks that she's too happy because he thinks that she is cheating on him.
Yeah.
The next day or wherever, he has a conversation with his uncle, again, the old pervert, who's like, oh, we need to look into this ASAP. You know, we need to know if, you know, she's cheating on you or whatever. So I won't get into too much of the nitty gritty, but they hold this whole like sort of like sting operation where they basically, very Scooby-Doo-esque, they go to this restaurant to spy on Leanne with her ice skating instructor. And this was actually pretty bizarre because at first they're just sitting there, but then they do lean in, and I can't even call this a kiss. This was like a weird open mouth, like his open mouth on her chin.
Oh, it was so weird.
So I'm like, okay, I mean, I was like, that could be anything. That could be platonic. But then we do like cut back to them, and then they're like full on making out.
Brad said, okay, yeah, she's cheating.
So Gaston breaks it up. Rather than really getting Leanne's perspective, instead we get a newspaper spins onto screen. And it's like tragedy at the restaurant. And it's like a full-on picture of Eva Gabor. Basically saying like she's been dumped.
Yes, just like in Wings, they took out a full newspaper article about the happenings
Mary
of one
sent
woman.
back home.
Yeah.
So Gaston, guess what, ladies? He's single again, you know, ready to mingle. His uncle, like, being the old pervert that he is like, Gaston, like, this is great. Like, just keep partying, be gay. And Gaston is kind of like, I think I want to, like, leave Paris. I think I want to go to this, like, seaside town. And his uncle's like, no, stay, be gay. And we get treated to, like, a party montage of just Gaston, like, at a restaurant where a girl, like, is riding a horse in between the tables. Then we see him at, like, a masquerade ball, and he's, like, miserable. Sometime later, you know, Gaston stops by famous Red Room. Grandmama's there. Gigi is there. And Gigi and Gaston are playing a card game, but not before we start to hear the mom singing again. And Grandmama just comes over and slams the door. I swear to God, every time he opens up a bottle of champagne again. And Grandmama won't let Gigi have any, but when she walks out of the room, Gaston like slides his like glass over and like lets Gigi have a sip. And we learn that Gigi loves her alcohol. Like she drinks a lot wherever she can. So he lets her have a few sips or whatever, and they start playing a card game. And again, he's talking about like, I'm gonna go visit this seaside little town. I'm gonna go away for a little bit. Gigi wants to go with them, and he's like, no, stay here. And she's like, how about this? Like, if I win this card game, you have to take me with you. And he's like, okay.
All right.
So they play a card game, and Gaston loses, and like a petulant man baby, he's like, you cheated. And Grandmama comes in and she distracts Gaston. And while his back is turned, like Gigi grabs the champagne bottle and just is like chugging it. So they head off to this like beach resort. And this is where, Carly, remember I was like, at this point, we've only seen Gaston in like 5-layer suits. I'm like, here we go. Let's get him somewhere sunny. Let's get him in the water.
Yeah, so when they made the bet, you were like, yes, go to the beach. Let's see it. And then when it happened, we're like, okay, they're going to the beach. Cut to the beach. And they couldn't have had more clothes on.
Yeah, I will say this beach I probably would fit in because everybody has their own sort of like tent on the beach. Nobody was sunbathing at all. And I'm like, okay, now we're talking. Okay. Yeah, we cut to Gigi and Gaston playing in the water, and they are both fully clothed. Gaston could not have been wearing any more clothes in the water. And I was so bummed out. This is when... Spoiler alert, but this movie lost a rating for me. It went down a notch because of this alone. Like, are you kidding me? And so Gigi and Gaston are having like the most fun ever. And Grandmama and the old pervert are there as well, you know, our chaperones. And they have, I won't get into the details, but they have a very long scene against this like sky sunset backdrop that I thought was fake as fuck.
Fake, so fake.
But we learned that Grandmama and old pervert used to have a little fling of their own back in the day. They keep referencing, you know, of course the old pervert's like, hey, you know, remember all the good times
remember
we
when
had.
you were younger?
Yeah. Too bad you turned 26 and I had to dump you. Again, not super important to the film, but we do learn that they have a history.
A tryst, you might say.
A tryst. But I do think it's here where Grandmama kind of looks at Gigi and Gaston, and a little bit of a light bulb, I think, pops up on her because she sees how well they get along. And I think for the first time, she's like, wait, why not Gigi and Gaston? You know, we've been training Gigi to be a courtesan. Gaston is like rich man because his family owns like a sugar plant or something like that. He's literally known as like the sugar prince, and
big sugar guy.
I just wish I could find my sugar prince. We do head back from this like little vacation stint where Gaston immediately turns around and goes somewhere else, goes to Monte Carlo by himself or whatever. And during this time in which Gaston's away, Grandmama and Aunt Alicia, they activate. They're like, Gigi, you're going to be with Gaston. You're going to be his mistress.
Here's the plan.
Here's the business arrangement. Literally, they call it later. And they go into overdrive. So suddenly it's like Say Yes to the Dress, where they're sitting Gigi down and watching these women come out and kind of model like these really fancy formal dresses or whatever. And they settle on like the most ugliest one.
Yeah.
Literally, Gigi like sees the first two and like loves them. And then Aunt Alicia is like, no, absolutely not. And then this model walks out in this like Pepto-Bismol, A Christmas Story bunny dress. And Gigi's like, oh, please no. And of course, this is the one that Aunt Alicia is like, ding, ding, ding. Alicia later at the dinner table or whatever with Gigi is like training her on how to drink. This butler comes over, fills a glass of wine for Gigi, heads on over to Aunt Alicia to fill up her glass. And during that brief time, you just see Gigi down her entire glass in one swig.
And when we were watching this, Brad and I totally missed her drink it all because we watched him fill Aunt Alicia's, and then they come back and Gigi's sitting there with an empty glass, and we're like, wait, did she just drink that whole thing? So we backed it up, and she drank it so fast, like shot back the whole thing of wine, and he refills it for her immediately, and you just see her getting tipsier and tipsier. Like, I'm not kidding. Within 45 seconds, she was like, ugh.
The aunt here is trying to, like, teach her how to, like, toast or whatever, but she keeps having an empty glass. So literally we see her, like, get 2 more refills, and she drinks them both. And then finally, like, she's cut off or whatever. But again, we stand this kind of behavior. Way to go, Gigi. But I will say what's confusing for me, and maybe this movie rushed through this a little too quick, but it seems like Gigi has an understanding of what's going on and what the plan is and is, like, on board with it. Like, she seems to... Despite the fact that like she seems to have a platonic relationship with Gaston, she seems to be signing up to be the mistress of Gaston, which I felt like was like a bit of a departure from the Gigi we met at the beginning, who seemed to like reject all of this.
Yeah.
But like, why go along with all the training? Why
Right.
do all this? And so Gaston does return, comes back to the Red Room, where as he's sitting there, his legs crossed very gaily, and Gigi shows up, but this is like the new Gigi. She's in her formal wear, you know, she's in her courtesan dress, and comes in and is like trying to show it off for Gaston, trying to impress him, and he doesn't really like it. He pokes fun at it because he knows like this is not really
Her.
It's not her, so he pokes fun at it. And she takes it very personal. She gets upset. You know, she starts to give it back to him a little bit and pokes fun at him. And of course, Gaston, being the petulant man baby that he is, you know, can't stand a woman giving it back to him at all. And so gets up and leaves, has a change of heart, comes back, and he's like, you know, Gigi, let's go on a date. Let's go get some tea. Let's go out. And she's all excited, but then Grandmama steps in and shuts this down, which, again, I found confusing. I thought, I was like, isn't this what you wanted? And she says, Gigi, can we have a moment? So she makes Gigi kind of go to her room. But she tells Gaston, like, hey, like, you have a bit of a reputation of your own for being, you know, this, like, ladies' man. If you're seen alone with Gigi, I'm worried about what people will think of her. And so Gaston hears this and is mad again and leaves.
Yeah, Gaston has a bit of a temper.
Yeah, he's not a man that has really ever heard the word no in his life. And so he goes outside and he has this big sort of soliloquy song-esque thing where he's like, she's just nothing but a child. She's just a little girl playing with her toys. And, you know, whoa. But then the song starts to like change in tone, and he was like, well, I guess I do like this about her, and I do like this about her. And then suddenly, like by the end of the song, he's like, wait, I love Gigi. I've loved her this whole time.
He went and danced and sang around the Friends fountain. It looked like.
Yeah. I know. We were like, is that the Friends fountain? But no, famously, I guess that was in Central Park. But. So Gaston returns again, has a conversation with Gigi. But this time, it's not just about her being his mistress. He's like, I'm in love with you. I've realized I'm in love with you. And this actually makes her more upset. She's like disgusted. She was like, don't tell me that. Because I think in her eyes, she was like, don't say that unless you mean it. Because like, if we're going to do this, if you're in love with me, I think she thinks he's like lying, that eventually he's going to just get bored with her.
It seems very ingenuine. And she says, you're a wicked man. And she gets very mad. And Alicia and Mamita are just kind of watching in the background.
Absolutely, yeah. She, you know, this is like a whole new conversation when it was just about her being a mistress. But if this is about her being his wife, and how is he going to treat her then? And especially knowing his reputation and how he treats women anyways, and how quickly he could get bored and move on to someone else. I think all of this is running through Gigi's head. And she initially rejects him.
He goes and talks to his uncle. And he's like, you know, there's two lines I wrote down that he said. He said, you know how long it will take you to forget her? Like noon tomorrow at the latest. He's like, don't fret over this. Like, she's not that big of a deal. And then he says, she doesn't even have many good years left. Like, again, being this pervert. Like, she's like 20 probably. And he's like, oh, she's like almost out of good years anyway. So he was not a fan. He tried to talk her out of it, which I don't really get his character. Is he like...
He's kind of the villain. I said there were no villains, but it's gotta be this guy. And it's just because like he's just an awful human being and he has no self-awareness at all. But I will say, like, the more that the uncle projects this image onto Gaston, he rejects it because he really is in love with Gigi. So to hear his uncle talk so callously about Gigi, someone that he genuinely cares about, it really like
fueled
pisses
him.
Gaston off.
Yeah, I think it even more motivated him. Like, no, this is what I want. And so then he runs back to Gigi.
That's right. And she was like, I'd rather be miserable with you than without you. So.
Yeah, and then I wrote Alicia gagged. I think Alicia was in the background just like,
yes. Also in between this two is when that bathtub scene happened between Aunt Alicia and her sister, Grandmama, who's just sitting in the bathroom with her while she's in the tub.
Yes, and I told Brad, I was like, okay, I'm very close with my sisters, but we would not do this. Absolutely not.
She dresses, she gets up, and she heads to the Red Room, and she happens to be there when Gaston returns, and Gigi, I guess, forgives him or
accepts his love.
accepts his love. So they go on their big date. And of course, we're back to Maxime's. And all of her training has led to this. She's holding the cigar right. She's doing all the things right. And Gaston is like, it's almost like he appreciates it, but he's still sort of like,
this is not my
but be
Gigi.
you.
Yeah, this is not the Gigi I fell in love with. You could just tell he has that,
Mm-hmm.
that he's second guessing it in his mind. He's almost like confused a little bit throughout this scene.
And she goes off and dances on the dance floor. And this is when our nasty uncle pervert comes over. And again, just has more rude things to say about Gigi. Gaston gets completely pissed off to the point where like he gets up, grabs Gigi by the hand, and just like literally like pulls her away from this restaurant and all the way to her home. Like, and she just literally by the hand and doesn't say a single word to her. She is so confused. She thinks she did something wrong. She's literally crying. Like, and Gaston won't be just like, hey, I'm just like mad. Like, I'm just taking you away from this awful environment. And takes her all the way home and drops her off to her grandmama. And then he has another one of his classic sad Gaston, sad boy, Charlie Brown walks around the streets of Paris, where he realizes like, wait, what am I doing? Goes back to Gigi's house. And in the living room, and in the living room, he proposes marriage to Gigi.
Well, he asked Mamita for Gigi's hand in marriage.
Yes,
he doesn't
that's right.
directly say it.
But like Gigi's like standing like right next to him.
Yeah, exactly.
As he asks for permission. So we like leave on that little cliffhanger. We have a time jump here where again we see Mr. Uncle Pervert back in the park, breaking the fourth wall, talking to us in the camera, full circle moment with the movie.
We have a reprise of his thank heaven for little girls. Another line, without them, what would little boys do?
Little boys do.
Yeah. So we get this awful song back, and as we're wrapping up the movie, and then, as Brad was saying, we see...
camera pans over, and we see Gaston and Gigi, now married. Gigi's, looks like any of the other women in the nice, long length dress and the big feathery sort of hat.
Sort of hat.
Sort of hat thingy. And that's how this movie ends.
And then it's over. Wow.
I know, yeah. This was an interesting one, for sure. I mean, like, a title like Gigi, I was, like, curious, okay, what could this movie be about? And, of course, I'm excited to see something that I think will be female-led. I'm a little disappointed to see. I felt like this was more Gaston's story than it was Gigi. Like, we spend so much time with Gaston, hearing his inner thoughts, his feelings. He gets to express himself in song throughout the streets of Paris. And we really only get, like, a little bit from Gigi in the beginning about how she views all this, but...
I think you even said halfway through, you were like, this movie should be called Gaston. Like, you called it very early on, and it never really got any better.
And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed seeing my man, a lot throughout the movie. But to me, I think this movie really missed the mark on, like, an evolution, a journey for Gigi.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm always going to reject a story, especially about a woman who, like, in the end, it's about her just getting married and that solving all the issues. But I do think this movie maybe is a little bit more layered than that, because like what everyone was desiring of Gigi was just to be a mistress, a courtesan, and she chooses instead to be married and be more respected by her partner versus being an arm candy piece for the sugar prince. So it's like, I like that, I guess. I like the idea more that her and Gaston were just platonic friends, that they didn't have to be shoehorned into a romance. But of course, that's what, it's the 1950s. That's what the movie's going to give you. And when it's a comedy, right, it's going to end in marriage, kind of deal. So I wouldn't mind seeing like a 2025 update to this movie, with less pervy old men.
I think they do have it. It's called Princess Diaries.
Okay. No, but like she's not.
Yeah, you're right. She's
training to be royalty, right? Not to be
a
courtesan, right? Yeah.
I think if anybody made a movie right now where their aunts were like rearing them to be good housewives and some man came along, and I don't think that would be a movie today. So you're right.
Fun fact, Carly, my niece Mia is named after
the
Princess Diaries.
Mia Thermopolis? Is that her middle name?
Yes.
Thermopolis?
I think so. My sister's more the expert on the movie.
I think so.
Hence the name.
No, is that your niece's middle name? Thermopolis. You said my sister's the expert. My sister's more the expert on my nieces.
That is true. I'm a good uncle. They like me, but no, her middle name's Renee.
Okay.
So not as exciting. Yeah. I poke at this a lot with my sister where I'm like, Mia is not a nickname for Amelia. And she's like, it was in the Princess Diaries. I was like, okay,
Wow.
I don't see it.
Is your other niece and nephew named after anything?
Claire, I don't think so. Luke is definitely named after Luke Skywalker from Star Wars, though, if you can believe that.
Wow.
So. My sister's whole personality is Princess Diaries and Star Wars.
Amazing.
Apparently. But I like the name Claire because that's the name of one of my favorite characters from Lost. So
I'm not familiar.
Played by Emily DeRavin, from...
Oh, yeah. Classically known as Belle.
From Remember Me. Oh, yeah. Once Upon a Time, Belle.
Brad, can we please not talk about Remember Me?
Speaking of Belle, though, and Beauty and the Beast, we
Yeah.
did talk about that a lot with this movie, just because the guy was named Gaston, and I'm not a big Disney guy, but we did wonder if maybe elements of Beauty and the Beast came from Gigi, or like we know Gaston in Beauty and the Beast is not a likable character either.
Yeah. Beauty and the Beast is set in France, so...
Oh, is it?
Yes, famously. I don't know. There's probably some ties in, or just Gaston is a famous French name, and that's probably the only reason they both have a man named Gaston.
Yeah, for me, I don't feel like it's like common enough. I just feel like that's the only other Gaston that I know. So it's what came to my mind kind of watching the movie. But Carly, I'm curious what your kind of like broad view, higher level thoughts were to this movie. Like, did you like it? Were you vibing with it?
I can confidently say I don't think I was vibing with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a decent movie to watch, and I got through it. I don't really know who I was rooting for in the movie, and I think that's a big thing for me is I need to be rooting for someone. Yeah. And like throughout the movie, there was no one that like we get tied to or that really is claimed as like the main protagonist. I guess Gigi would be, but the movie does not focus on Gigi enough for me to really root for her.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was anything significant about the movie where I'm like, yeah, I enjoyed that. But overall, the film was fine. I did like the music in the film. I do think that the like lyrics were good.
The lyrics were fun.
Yeah, the lyrics were fun. And I think the music, we even talked about this. Like, it wasn't like Oliver where there were like big productions of music.
Yeah.
It was just like kind of like, I don't know, I think about like Grease, Grease, like some of them were bigger productions, but not really. It was just kind of like people singing along the way. I think I liked that aspect of it, but that was pretty much it. What about you? What were your initial overall thoughts?
I agree with you. There was character development that was lacking for me. And then like the love between Gigi and Gaston, I'm not super connected to it because like, yes, we saw Gaston sort of singing out his feelings and eventually realizing himself. But it's like, where was the evidence really that they are in love, or that even if he feels like he's in love with Gigi, where is the evidence from her end that she loved Gaston? And again, like, I don't think it was completely hidden from her that her aunt and grandmama were trying to hook her up with Gaston to be his mistress. And so like, why was Gigi going along with all of it? Like, why was she sort of relenting to this path that was being laid out for her? So I think some of that was like lacking for me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I could have used one more scene where they have like a heart-to-heart conversation, Gigi and Gaston. Like, we have the card game where it's kind of more like flirting and, fun. We have them playing at the beach, which we really don't even get a conversation, but like the conversation between Mamita and Uncle Pervy, like that, we need a conversation like that where they actually talk about feelings. And I got more about their relationship in that 2-minute conversation we saw between them than I feel like I know about Gigi and Gaston. It felt very like there wasn't any natural relationship building that I feel like we were privy to as the viewers.
Yeah, I think yes to all that. Like, but also like, why not just like a song, like a soliloquy from Gigi herself? I think about Oliver and the female character we were standing there, Nancy, like she gets an entire song about like her thoughts about Bill and why she's with Bill, because that's the one thing we want to know. Bill's this awful character. Why is she with him? And she literally is like, hold your champagne. I'll tell you why I'm with him.
Yeah.
I wish Gigi also had more sort of soliloquy songs on her own to just be like,
because the movie is called Gigi. The movie wasn't even called Nancy, and we got a Nancy song.
What a concept.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the rating.
Okay.
The emoji that we are going to use for Gigi, and we have mentioned it because it just was a reoccurring gag in the whole movie, is the champagne bottle. Not only that, but the cork is like coming out. Like it's like...
Oh yeah, it's the cork, the bottle. It's perfect for this movie.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm going to give Gigi 2 champagne bottles.
Okay.
So I flirted with the 1. However, at this point, I've given a 1 to Around the World in 80 Days. I will say Gigi had some humor in it. While I didn't really like the beginning of it, I was engaged with it enough throughout the ending to at least be paying attention to what's going on. And Gaston was hot, but, you know, he didn't take his shirt off to go in the ocean. So it's just
if he would have taken his shirt off, would it be a 3 champagne movie? Potentially.
Yeah, something else would have popped for sure. So yeah, I'm going to go with a 2, which is actually the same rating I gave Oliver as well, the only other musical that we did. But I will say, I think Oliver did a much better job at being a musical. And I have to just say it too, like the way this movie starts is just so gross. And like that whole character, the Uncle Perv guy, really is a bummer, brings it all down for me. So I'm giving it a 2. What about you, Carly?
Yeah, I too am giving it a 2. A 2.
This might be your first 2.
Yeah, you might be right. I've given a 1 to Around the World in 80 Days. I think you're right. This is my first 2-tier movie. It does. I just, even sitting with it for a few days now, like, I need a lot more from it.
Yeah.
So I think 2 is a good place for it. We've talked, you know, it starts at a 3 and it definitely lost an emoji at some point. So I think 2 is a good spot for it. I too thought about 1, but I was like, no, it's not a 1 movie because it actually had characters that I cared about, unlike the 1 movie we've had before.
Carly, what do you think ranking wise?
I think, hear me out and let me know what you think. Because I knowing you have a spot where you want it.
Yep, that's true.
I think F tier above 80 Days.
Wow.
What do you think?
Okay, I went slightly higher.
Okay.
I was thinking D tier between Wings and All the King's Men.
You think this is better than Wings?
Here is what I struggle with Wings. It's just...
Because you gave Wings 3 bubbles. And you only gave 2 champagne. So, yeah, explain this to me.
Well, I also gave Oliver 2, but we have Oliver higher. But
yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just wanting to understand.
I liked Wings as a story, but it's hard to feel super connected to Wings because it was a silent movie. Like, I just feel like it's a bit of a chore to watch because you got to read all those title cards in Wings. And then, like, for the most part, there's just a lot of, like, silent action sequences of planes, you know, shooting each other down on Wings, you know?
Yeah.
I think there is some good character stuff, but it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. And it's like, it sucks because it's like, I did like Wings. And Wings, I think Wings had the element of surprise for me, right? Where you're expecting a silent movie to be like, oh, we got to go through there. But I think it surprised me in ways of like, oh, I actually enjoyed that more than I thought I would. So I think it gets a bump for me for that kind of element of it. But as a movie on its own, I'm sorry, but it's just like, in my opinion, it's hampered by the fact that it was a silent movie, you know? And it's just like, and it just being extremely old. You know, Gigi had like very lavish set design. It was in color. They could speak. They could sing even, you know? And
yeah, I think you 100% are right. And I'm thankful I have you in this life to correct me when I go astray.
But let me say, I was
considering F.
Yes, I was teetering actually anywhere from C to F. And then I really had to like hone in. And I only thought about C because that's where we have Oliver. And so I was just like, and Oliver's been all alone there in that tier for a while.
Yeah.
I knew I was always going to put it below Oliver. And then I thought about All the King's Men. And I was like, Gigi, from a technical standpoint, is a better film than All the King's Men, but All the King's Men is a better story than Gigi.
Okay, yeah, I think I totally agree with you and appreciate your thoughts. And I think officially we put Gigi D tier between All the King's Men and Wings. Done.
Carly, who is this movie for?
That's a really good question, Brad. I don't know who this movie's for, but it's not for the women. It's not for the ladies. I think my big guiding principle when I think about this is would I tell my gal pals, oh my God, you should watch this movie. I wouldn't tell them that. So I think that unless someone was like a really appreciated old movies and wanted like a good, I don't know, like fun little movie, but I don't even think it's like super fun. So I wouldn't say it's for the girls. I also think like it had such an opportunity to be for the girls. It's a movie called Gigi, and Gigi's just not really the star of it. So I gave it a thumbs down.
Yeah, it's like you want to give the film credit for the fact that like there were at least 3 prominent female characters and they got to be in scenes together with no men, but then it doesn't pass the Bechdel test at all. Like everything's in service of like, well, what's going to make Gaston happy? And like the bar is set in hell when it comes to female characters and female representation in Best Picture winners, that it's like, I can totally see your perspective there.
Is it for the gays?
I'm going to actually say yes, it's for the gays.
Okay. And how much of that is because of Gaston? What percentage?
I have a couple different reasons, but like, it's hard for me to always articulate how it's just the way a movie makes me feel. And like, the whole vibe of this movie just is so gay. Not to mention that they say the word gay so many times, but like all the men act somewhat effeminate. All the set pieces, the outfits the ladies wear, all of it, like the casual drinking during the day, the fact that nobody's working, all of this just screams gay to me.
I can't really explain it, but this whole movie screams
And then
gay.
explains it.
No, for some reason, I like understand.
There's something gay about it.
Yeah.
But it's a good segue maybe to talking about our director, because maybe there's a reason why this movie felt a little gay. But this movie was directed by Vincent Minnelli. And if you're curious, I can confirm Vincent Minnelli is the father of Liza Minnelli.
Oh my God, I was wondering that the whole time. So thank you.
Yeah.
He created a gay icon. Wow.
He sure did.
Okay.
He met Judy Garland when he cast her in a film, and she was maybe about like 20 years younger than him, but they got married, and Liza Minnelli is their kid.
Wow. So this is Liza Minnelli's dad. This is Judy Garland's husband.
Like, husband for a brief time, yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool. Cool. That's
Yeah.
This is like the second coolest thing he's ever made.
Good one, yeah.
Good one.
I will say we're not going to be done with Vincent Minnelli because he does direct another Best Picture winner. The other film is An American in Paris. So more Paris. Again, pretty prolific director. He really exclusively worked with MGM, a very famous film company, for 26 years.
Yeah.
And produced films for them until like later in his life when his movies stopped performing well at the box office. His relationship kind of naturally ended with MGM. So, but it's also why I bring up the whole gay thing is it's widely known or speculated that Vincent Minnelli was closeted, that before he moved out to LA, he lived in New York City, and people, literally the quote is like, he was gay in New York and then straight in LA.
Wow.
I think because Hollywood maybe would have rejected him, that the thought process was when he moved out there, sort of kept that part of his life hidden and followed a more traditional path in order to be successful in Hollywood.
Wow, that is giving The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo so much.
Oh, okay.
I know. I have brought it up to you before. I don't know if you remember this conversation because I was talking, but
I might have been busy.
That is definitely giving Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So I wonder if in any way that character in that book was based off of this man.
Possibly. I have to imagine there was a ton of like,
Yeah.
oh, I was gay in New York, but I was straight in California kind of people. So.
Yeah, that's so true. But I'm pretty sure this is the one person it was based off of.
Yeah, so I'll dig up some more juicy stuff when we talk about him for the next film that we cover. So,
Okay.
But yeah, Liza Minnelli's father. I was like so surprised. I saw the name and I just never made the connection in my own mind. All right, well, let's talk about this year's Academy Awards. So again, this was the 31st Academy Awards. It was hosted by, let me prepare, Jerry Lewis, Mort Saul, Tony Randall, Bob Hope, David Niven, and Laurence Olivier. This year's Oscars was hosted by 6 men.
Sorry, how? All white men, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Wow.
So this was hosted by a panel. This has happened before in Oscars history, but just a couple of names of note here. We get Bob Hope again, who, when we talked about Around the World in 80 Days, he hosted the Oscars 19 times. So we are going to continue to see Bob Hope pop up a lot, but this counts as one of his 19. It's the second one for us, and movies we've covered seeing Bob Hope, but so we have 17 more times to talk about Bob.
Great.
Laurence Olivier here is also a director of a Best Picture winner. I believe he did like the 1930s Hamlet, which I'm not excited for that podcast episode.
Why, Brad?
It just sounds so boring.
Oh my
I don't know.
gosh.
And I majored in English and had to take a whole Shakespeare class.
So does Lord of the Rings.
Carly Thermopoulos. What is it?
Yes, Brad, that was good.
And then David Niven is the only one I want to highlight here because he actually wins an Oscar this night, also being the host. And he's on a rare list of people that was the host who actually won an Oscar that night as well.
Wow.
And then Ingrid Bergman presented Best Picture. And so that's who you heard at the start of the recording. She's a 3-time Oscar winner herself. And she's also a part of an elite group of women having won 3 acting Oscars. And she's tied with like Meryl Streep. And the only one who has more acting Oscar wins is Katharine Hepburn with 4.
Meryl only has 3.
Meryl has 3. Frances McDormand is also in the 3 club. All 3 of Frances McDormand's are Best Actress.
Wow.
Where Meryl and Ingrid here have 2 in Best Actress, 1 in Best Supporting Actress. And then Katharine Hepburn has all 4 in the Best Actress, and she's the one still holding the record.
Wow.
So kudos to Ingrid. So let's talk about the lesser half. The other films nominated for Best Picture this evening. The first one is Auntie Mame. It had 6 nominations, 0 wins. So sorry to you, Auntie.
Sorry.
Not a great night for ants. Next was an adaptation of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, which of course is based on the play by Tennessee Williams. This starred Elizabeth Taylor.
Elizabeth Taylor. Do you know what I'm talking about, Brad?
Yeah, you're going to get us sued for copyright.
No. I'm just saying we are recording this 6 days after The Life of a Showgirl came out, and she has a song, Elizabeth Taylor. And I was literally like, every time we talk about her on this podcast, because I know she's going to come up often, I'm going to say that. So buckle up.
That might be why I made note to write her name down.
Thank you, Brad.
Unfortunately for Elizabeth, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof had 6 nominations but 0 wins. So if you're starting to wonder, like, who won this night, we're getting to it. The next film is called The Defiant Ones. It had 9 nominations, so tied with Gigi for most nominations this night. And it got 2 wins, so it won in Best kind of Original Screenplay and then Cinematography. And then the last film is called Separate Tables. It had 7 nominations and 2 wins as well. And this is where David Niven wins the Best Actor Oscar while also being the host tonight. And then they won in the Best Supporting Actress category as well. These 4 movies did not wrap up a lot of wins, and that's because Gigi this night had 9 nominations and 9 wins.
That's a sweep.
This record gets tied eventually with The Last Emperor, like in the late 80s. And then it gets broken
by some film.
The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
Wow.
So put some respect on the king's name, okay?
Okay.
Okay, that did not sound respectful. So yeah, Gigi, of course, won in Best Motion Picture. Vincent Minnelli does win Best Directing, Adapted Screenplay, Art Direction, Cinematography, -color. So I guess there was a cinematography in black and white. Costuming, of course, editing, the scoring of this movie, and then Best Original Song. And the song's name is Gigi.
So no actors.
No actors. No, yes. And in fact, Gigi is in a group of movies where they had so many wins. Again, they won Best Picture and Directing, but didn't win any acting. No acting noms, period. So
nobody was nominated for an Oscar?
Correct, yeah.
What?
For Gigi. And then the only weird thing about this Academy Awards is the producer of this Academy Awards was so worried about it being too long or running over time. So he cut a bunch of different musical numbers and productions, and this one ended 20 minutes early, which prompted this host of men to have to like riff and try to fill the time until eventually NBC like just cut it and started playing a rerun of sports. Wow. But a big theme of the Academy Awards, it's too long. And all the ways they try to shorten it up. But this year it backfired on them. Well, before we jump into your research, Carly, I'm curious if you have a guess as to the Rotten Tomato score of Gigi.
Well, I do. I've been thinking on it because when we were watching, you were like, let me look it up. And you were like, oh, ooh. So I have a little bit of a context clue, and it seemed like a positive ooh. So I'm going to say like 91.
Wow.
I would think it's in the 90s.
You are correct. But somehow just a smidge too high. 90.
90 exactly?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yes, this is actually our 3rd film we've covered to have a 90% score. So it ties with Oliver and with $1 Million Baby. Wow. Which I guess Gigi could have been more in the 80%, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I would have guessed in the 80s if you hadn't.
Yeah, the noise I was making was like more of like, I think that's too high. That was the noise I was trying to accomplish.
No, that's what I got, was that it's like, oh, it's high.
It did win Best Picture. Based on these other movies nominated, I think it makes sense.
And I mean, it was, it won for art direction, cinematography, costume, film editing. So
like everything.
Knowing who ranks Rotten Tomatoes, that does make sense.
All right. Well, none of the actors were nominated, Carly, but what do you know about them?
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, it is based on a novella. So it's a novella by Colette, written in 1944. That novella had been recreated a few times, and a couple times in theater. It started as a theater, as a play. This was the first time it was a musical, but it was done as a play a couple times on Broadway. And the first version of it on Broadway was the Broadway debut of a small actress known as Audrey Hepburn.
Oh, I've heard of her.
Yeah, probably because we're so familiar with movies, we've heard of her. But yes, it was her Broadway debut, and she did very well, and people loved her, and she was believed to have played Gigi in this film. There's a lot of rumors back and forth. I guess in Leslie Caron's memoir, she said that is not true, that Audrey was never supposed to play, but a lot of people say it is true. So I looked up the differences in the book and the movie, and it seems like we would have enjoyed the book because it was more focused on Gigi.
Oh my god, what a concept.
Yeah, what a concept. One thing that I don't think we would have loved is that they do say in the book she is 15 and a half years old.
Ew.
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 So I guess she turns 16 in the book, but it's more about, they said that it's more about her going from a tomboyish kind of young woman to a polished young woman. So that's giving more like My Fair Lady. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
You know, that popped up a lot in my research. There was a lot of like,
oh really?
My Fair Lady like mentions with this movie. I at least like, yeah, reading through the film's like Wikipedia page and stuff like that. So I don't have enough familiarity with My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gathered there was probably some natural comparisons there.
Yeah, totally. In the book, there is no uncle, so that pervy uncle was a total add-on.
Oh my god, they're like, you know what this book needs?
Yeah, exactly. An uncle that's obsessed with little girls. So there was no uncle. There was more of a mother in the book. So the mom came out of the bedroom and had a face and stuff. And they said that pretty much the whole book takes place in like two places. So, and the play as well, which obviously for a movie you have to kind of mix up the sets a lot. So there was no Maximes, there was nothing of that, which was a really big part of the movie for us. So I'm glad that they had that. So 1951 was when Audrey Hepburn had her version. In 1955 there was another version which was directed by a director on Broadway named Peter Hall, and he actually cast Leslie Caron as Gigi. And this version was not on big Broadway, it was on small Broadway, off Broadway, and it wasn't as widely known. But as that production was in production, Peter Hall and Leslie Caron fell in love and got married and had 2 kids.
Wow. There's a lot of like directors or just falling in love with their stars.
Yes, I feel like every time I look into it, that happens. So Leslie Caron, having done the one production, a couple years later, when they started making the movie, she was a shoo-in for Gigi, although a lot of people say it was supposed to be Audrey. So even if she was the second choice for this movie, she still did a really good job. I don't think her performance was anything bad. I really enjoyed her. Brad, sorry to disappoint you, it was not her singing.
No way.
It was not her singing. And
it was Oliver?
It was
Kid Oliver?
It was the kid Oliver. No, as gagged as you are, Leslie Caron was gagged as well. They didn't tell her that they were going to dub over all of her singing. So she did all of the productions. She, recorded all the music. And then right before they released the movie, they were like, by the way, we have this other person named Betty Wand who we had to record all the music, and you're going to hear her and not you.
This is like when Phoebe recorded Smelly Cats.
God, yeah, that's exactly.
She's like, I sound hot.
Oh yeah, exactly like that.
Oh, I would be pissed if I was
Leslie. Yeah, in her memoir, she does say she was really upset, and she's like, they did not tell me any of this. They never even told me it was a consideration. She said she took like music classes, and she's like, I worked really hard on recording those tracks, and they just threw them out the window. The only other thing about Leslie Caron, she's a very popular actress. She's in a lot of things, nothing too notable and that I'm familiar with. She did win a Primetime Emmy in 2007 for her guest role on Law & Order SVU. Her and Olivia Benson, very close. Louis Jordan, the love of your life, plays Gaston in Leslie Caron's memoir, which I did not read. It just came up a lot in my findings. But she talks a lot about how Louis is a grumpy man.
Yeah, that's of course he is.
Right. So the Gaston grumpiness was kind of came natural to him, I'm sure. And I guess a lot of people, he's notoriously like a grumpy actor to work with. So yeah, so no surprise there. He also
that's so hot.
When he was a little older, he starred as Dracula in a film. So I was like, you love vampires. Maybe you should go watch that.
That's hot too.
I know. I was thinking you might want to go find his, I think it was a BBC
Suck on
version.
my neck.
Yeah. You would love that. Eva Gabor, I just looked her up because crosswords, but she was Leanne in this film, and she's better known, as our crosswords always tell us, for her role in Green Acres. So we will never, ever forget her. And this is to all of you New York Times crossword people. We have just helped you, and you'll never forget. And then the last thing I will say is Hermione Gingold, who played Mamita. Grandmama, yes. I actually really loved her in this movie. I thought she did a really good job. And I did see that she won a Golden Globe for supporting actress for this role. While obviously, like you said, I really can't believe no actors were even nominated for this movie, but whatever. Yeah. She was nominated and won, which I think is deserved for her role, a Golden Globe. She also was in the movie we've already covered.
Around the World in 80 Days. Yes, she is credited as sporting lady in that movie. She was the one at the big sports board that I put on the socials. Was that her?
I can't say I remember. I mean, that was 2 years before this movie, but hey, I am sure she was there. I did like her, and I also looked in. I thought I would recognize her from something else, but not really. The only other thing that I thought was kind of funny about this film, that after Gigi won 9 out of 9 nominations at the Academy Awards, which is very cool also. Yeah. I mean, there's only been, sounds like 3 or 4 movies that have ever swept all their nominations, so very cool. I guess MGM, if you, for the next year, or I guess they said 6 months, if you call, they would answer and say MGM, but for 6 months after this film did so well, they would say MGGM. So they said that was MGGM. So just kind of something a little funny that was on Wikipedia, and we don't know if it's true or not, but I hope it is. I mean, that's it. It was cool to kind of look into it, and just like with all the movies, glad I watched it. I do think it's an important movie in movie history, and we can always say we've seen it. Yeah.
I don't think it ages perfectly well, but
oh yeah, that was another thing. Is I told you, because I looked up Gigi movie. And the second thing was Gigi movie controversy. Remember? I was like, ooh. Oh, yeah. And so, I did Google that. And it was just kind of it's about the general, grooming of Gigi. And how in the book she's young. And in the movie she's still young. And I mean, the creepy uncle literally sings about little girls and how that's the best thing they are is for little boys, Yeah. So that's definitely a controversy. So you're right. I don't think it holds up. In today's age, they could never. But
it does feel like a kind of a bit of a departure for what you stereotypically think of a Best Picture winner, where they're very serious and dours. But this one seems to stand out, but not always in the way that you want it to stand out. So all right, well, that was Gigi, and we're gonna leave her behind in the 1900s because we're moving on to a new movie.
What is that movie, Brad? Will you tell us?
We are sticking with the musical category because our next movie is Chicago.
Yay! I'm really excited for this one.
Me too. I have a reputation for being a musical hater, but I will say I do have history and context with the movie Chicago, which I will get into next time.
Can't wait.
So join us next time for Chicago. Get ready for Carly's and I's full rendition of the Cell Block Tango. We will be rehearsing.
Yes.
And as always, Carly, love ya.
Love you, Brad. Bye.
Bye.